Hi, everyone. I'm Meg Isbitsky. I'm the Somerset County Mental Health Administrator, and welcome to Stigma-Free Stories, our video project where we discuss experience of stigma as it relates to mental health and substance use. So this project focuses on people who live and work in Somerset County with their own experiences, with their loved ones, and their experiences as professionals. So I am here today to talk with Cliff Jacobson from Somerville's own Freedom Trail Self-Help Center. So the purpose of the Stigma-Free Stories and our greater Stigma-Free initiative is to spread education and public awareness to reduce the negative mental health stereotypes and promote acceptance, cohesion, and community resources. So Cliff, the wellness mentor at Freedom Trail, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And can you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself, your story, and how you got to where you are today?
Well, I'll give you a short bit about where I come from in my life. I grew up in Staten Island. I was the youngest of four boys. I had a solid parental household. Everyone was there. And when I went to college, I got a professional job in Dallas. I was working for Fortune 500 companies, and things were going pretty much as one would think. I didn't really, I wasn't so ambitious. I took professional jobs, I got the education, and then at one point I moved back to New Jersey, and I worked for PepsiCo. And at that point, still things were good. I moved into my own family business, a successful family business in New Jersey. And I was busy working 6 days a week. And at one point, I broke up from someone and I realized I couldn't handle my own feelings. And that sent me into therapy. And after a few years, I switched my path, so to speak, and read a book about the road less traveled by a prominent psychiatrist. And I got into spirituality at the time. And that was the path I saw. And I remember in that book, it said something about how when you're growing up, your parents are your everything, your God, so to speak. And that sort of shifted my awareness. And I got into spirituality and I was lifted up. And I felt like I was truly in my element. I felt at home. And things were going very well. I was becoming a teacher in that. And quickly, I came to a point where I had to carry my own by myself without any support. And I guess my psychological and my spiritual self were not in unison. So I sort of cracked, so to speak. I had my spiritual emergency and my emotional emergency. And I went into a hospital, carrier clinic, and they treated me like it wasn't quite advanced at the time. I was treated with disregard of my emotional state. They saw the manicness in me, so they gave me a lot of medication, and I quickly became almost comatose. They discharged me after 2 weeks to my mother because I could barely walk. And I remember that time saying, well, my family can heal it now, because what came out at that time was a lot of ugly laundry, so to speak. I had another chance to depend on myself, and I realized after not succeeding that was my core issue. I had to depend on myself. So what happened was many years of therapy, of hospitalizations, over 20 hospitalizations, and over 10 years of hospitals combined. And I got out in 2010, and I quickly had that same test, whether I was going to give out my allegiance to myself, to someone else, or to myself. And I gave it to someone else. So today I'm at a place where I'm trusting myself more, and I am just where I need to be. I am comfortable. I'm in a mentor position as a peer at Freedom Trail, and I'm in the community. I have a safe community. And in the mental health sort of system, I didn't quite feel safe. They looked at you like you were their property and you were dangerous. And the one thing I think that could improve in the mental health system is the whole, not just psychiatry, not just containment, but the treatment of the person. And I think that's the one thing I really learned that in my journey, and now as a peer therapist, a peer mentor, that I'm with the people rather than administering to them, I'm with them. So I've come along and I've developed, and I feel good where I'm at today. I'm in the community. I'm not isolated. If I need help, I go for help. If I feel less threatened and threatening, and maybe, who knows, come around, and it's a journey. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you for all of that. That's quite the story, and it seems like you have such a deep and comprehensive experience. And I appreciate you using all of that knowledge to then try to help somebody else. So, can you explain just a little bit of how your own recovery assists you in your work at Freedom Trail? Did allude to that a little bit.
sure. I at Freedom Trail, whether it be mental health, addictions, substance use, or homeless, when I treat them, I really can't be defensive. I have to be inviting, and I have to be non-threatening. And I think having an inviting persona, being a person that's sort of comes from a feeling of being threatened in his life, and knowing that what I really needed was someone who was there on my side. So, and I've gone through all the experiences. I know the mental health system. I've seen people with addictions. And one of the things that I really realize is that, and this sort of piggybacks on another question, that how people present may not really be who the people are. That there's all this stress and trauma and dysfunction around who they really are. And so you have to have patience, a lot of patience. And I guess that's what patience and caring and sincerity and being real with them and not putting on, I am here to help you, or I'm here to tell you what to do.
Yeah, like that's a really good point about looking at somebody who, you're more than your symptoms, you're more than your disorder. You're a whole person, and that's just one piece of who you are, one piece of your identity, and that doesn't mean that that's a limitation in any way. And so I love that idea of even your title as like the wellness mentor. Like that's so much bigger than just mental and emotional. So I love that. Cliff, can you go into a stereotype that you think is totally untrue that you wish more people realized, whether about mental health, substance use disorders, anything in that category?
Well, I deal with some people with substance use disorders, and I think whether that or mental health or homelessness, their life has brought them to that point, and it's really not their choice. Um, that mental health is not a choice. Mental diagnosis is not a choice. Homelessness, very few people choose. It's the small things that bring people over the top, and normally it's stress. So the one stereotype I would believe that I would like to tell everybody about is that people are sometimes acting in a way that they prefer not to act, and that they really feel sorry for that. And sometimes it's hard to believe to say that they're not in control, but like they need to be given the benefit of the choice, of the doubt. Very much so.
Absolutely. And be given some empathy too,
Yes.
understanding of a different perspective. Absolutely. So in your own experience with stigma, in your own life, do you feel like it was more of an internal or an external conflict? Do you think that you put it more on yourself, or it was something that you kind of hit as a barrier?
Well, I guess if I had trusted the people around me, and if I had shared more of my life to my psychiatrist, to my therapist, if I had shared more and not tried to keep it all in and put up the wall of defense, I would have moved through faster. So I think the stigma was very much that I did not admit that I had an issue. And I think once someone admits they have an issue, that acceptance can bring them to a place of peace more, of being settled and being calm. And I think that's a real thing because I dealt with a lot of anger issues, and it was because I wasn't calm and I was angry at the world, at different things. At the same time, I was treated for my symptoms and not for the underlying problem. So I think part of the treatment and the stigma was, like I was saying, you're not your behavior always. And just that psychiatry alone sort of treats you as other. You'll be taking this medication for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
There's no healing. But then they, at the same time, they talk about recovery. But so it's I had a lot of internal conflict, yet I feel that how you were labeled and treated, you have to be watched when you're in the hospital. The aides may not trust you, they may make jokes. So it's a combination of both, but I think that I had a lot of internal conflict. And if I was more within my community, even if it was in a hospital, and I would have been less defensive and more welcoming to my fellow people there, I would have felt more cared for And I know the care was there. So a lot of it was an internal conflict for sure.
Well, I think that's why it's so important to have conversations like these and this kind of representation that just normalizes these experiences and shows people that there's nothing wrong with you for any of the diagnoses or life experiences that you do go through. And, it says a lot about how harmful these stereotypes are. If you're just used to hearing about people like you and what you're capable of and what your limits are, then you're going to internalize that, and that's creates a whole nother layer of barriers. So thank you for all of that.
Right. And there's one last thing I would like to say about conflict and also the mental health. I hate to call it a system, but like the hospitals, the therapists, the centers, all that, is that if they can find out if they can help you or trust you more to know the answer for your own wellness and ask you certain questions and say finding out what's important to someone
Mhm.
and what their beliefs are, I think is more important than almost anything else.
Mhm.
So if you know how someone ticks, like I'd like to be asked questions and I could come up with the answers, giving a non-threatening environment.
Right.
So I could have helped heal myself
Mhm.
and gone through and into recovery faster than if the environment was less within the four walls. So I definitely think that friendly healthcare workers, friendly psychiatrists, friendly aides, friendly everybody, and more pictures on the walls, more games, the ability to laugh, and to be brought into a these are your people.
Mhm.
And that's why I think the peer mentor and the wellness mentor is so important, that we're with them and we create a friendly environment and they're within their comfort zone and people grow at their own pace.
Mhm.
And giving a nice place to grow, they grow faster.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think that's such a good point because we always say, like, meet the client where they're at. Like everybody who's experiencing any kind of treatment or is anywhere in the system, they're the expert on their own lives. They have the history. They know what kind of treatment they want. Everybody wants to be treated with dignity and be given choices and be given competent care. And I think you're right. I think when that's offered, we see way higher rates of success when we're surrounded by people who understand us, that we can relate to. I think we are going to feel, we're going to trust it more. We're going to think it's genuine and that, it has us all in mind. So absolutely. I think everything you just said is well taken. So last question, and I know you kind of went into it a little bit, but what is something that you wish the greater community knew about mental health and substance use disorders?
Well, this is a great question. And I gave some thought to it. And we treat the people in the hospitals and in their professional life. And the issues really start very early in life. So having counselors in preschool, not in preschool, but in like elementary school and middle school, and even peers that have been there, maybe not my age, but someone closer to their age, and investing in our children. It sounds cliche, but investing in where the starting is, where everyone starts. I think that's true compassion. And I think that would would help everybody, the whole society at large, and it would be more of a working together versus the separation and the anxiety and the confrontational, thinking that someone is other. We're all the same. We're in this together. And when you approach someone at a younger age, they're less defensive, and they haven't built up all those walls and identities. So I think treating people in middle schools and in elementary schools and high schools, that's where a lot of money would be truly best invested and would be a very long payoff.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think the younger, the better. As soon as we can teach the youth about their own feelings, their own thoughts, what's going on with them, encourage resilience and support, I think we're a lot better off by strengthening ourselves early. So absolutely.
Exactly.
Before we end, anything else? I want to make sure that anything that wasn't captured in a question still can make its way into the conversation.
Meg, you've done a good job. You make it very friendly here. Let me think. I think that Freedom Trail is part of a larger organization, and there's the Mental Health Association of New Jersey, mostly run by peers. When you have someone who's been there and is trained in listening and I'm basically blowing my own whistle, and this is sort of off track, but I think that to be in community is the most important part. And nowadays, everyone's on Zoom and the pandemic has really affected people. But if people could meet their neighbor, meet their community, and just build from there and have a friendlier nature. And my spiritual guru once said, you have 3 friends in elementary school. Meet a new friend every day. So have a wider circle. And I think having a wider circle of friends, and not that, they don't have to be your best buddies, but having a wider circle and being friendly to people, it doesn't cost anything. It's just a little effort that really pays off in the greater society in whole.
Absolutely. And feeling connected to your community, feeling like you care about your community and your community cares about you, I think that goes a long way. So absolutely. Well, thank you again, Cliff. I really appreciated this time with you, that you could join us today for Stigma-Free Stories.
Okay, thank you.
And for everybody who's watching at home, to learn more about stigma and how you can do your part to reduce it, please visit the Stigma-Free page on our Somerset County website. Thank you.